Connie emailed me, I guess you emailed me a few weeks ago and invited me to come on this wonderful occasion, and it's funny to be referred to as a recent graduate. I don't feel like a recent anything, really, but that's cute, so thank you for that. So what I thought I'd do is just, I know that many of you are enrolled in the 502 class. Raise your hands if you're in 502. That's so cool. And are you from all over? That was one of my favorite things. 502? Yes? No? Oh, I remember. Did you get set back?
I did.
So, well, welcome. I remember 502, my 502 weekend, and I will never forget that because one of the very first things we were asked to do was to draw the space around a stool. Are they making you do that?
Yeah.
Who did not take that out of the curriculum? Oh my gosh. Okay, so I really thought I was in the wrong place. I really did with that one. And I thought, you gotta be kidding me. Really? I'm paying tuition for this? Ah! But I just kind of wanted to mention that because for me, looking back, a theme in my experience since that day probably is sometimes you just have to think about things differently. You just have to get away from the rigidity of the way you've always done things, looked at things, evaluated things, analyzed things, made decisions, and just stop and take a look at it differently. Give it a chance. Since that day when I drew the space around a stool, I have to honestly say that I probably haven't done too many things the same. And it was really one of my takeaways. The other one-liner that I have never forgotten is, please see and see again. See, be a part of things, experience things, feel things, sense things, see it, but then back away. Because when you take a minute to do that, you see it again, you really do. And you might have to move, literally, figuratively, in your mind. You may have to move in order to see it again. It is worthwhile to do that. And it is amazing what you will see. I am blessed to be teaching myself a leadership class at the College of Veterinary Medicine at Washington State University right now. So I am teaching future doctors about how to see and see again. And I said that the other day in class. I said, what you need to do is see, but then back away and look again. And they kind of looked at me the same way I looked at my instructor with the whole stool thing. It was the whole deer in the headlights, I don't want to be here thing. But then they softened. And they got it when I told them that along their career path, they are going to be paid money by people who expect them to do just that in the evaluation, diagnosis, and treatment of their beloved pets. And if we must look at it as a skill set, then we can do that. Scientists, veterinary personnel that I work with tend to be quite rigid, and I know this because I was there. And so it's quite difficult to get them to do this. But it changed my life to think of things that way. Dr. Horstman talked about fear. And how many of you have ever been afraid of something? Maybe you're afraid now. I wouldn't blame you. But we are afraid. We are afraid. There's not any of us that aren't. And it gets in our way. As leaders, we have the capacity to alleviate fear for those around us through our influence, through what we say, through how we say what we say, through the encouragement we offer, through that willingness to serve and serve first. And when we can chase fear out of our cultures, out of our work cultures, out of our classroom cultures, out of our families, when we can influence to chase fear away, magic happens. Trust takes its place. And when you can work within a culture of trust, work doesn't even feel like work anymore. It's something you look forward to go to do. And you make a difference. And sometimes you don't know when you're making a difference or who you're making a difference with, and you may never know. I would say probably the majority of time we never know. But that's part of that trust culture too. You have to trust that that's happened. So currently, just to give you a little synopsis, currently I do work at Washington State University at the Veterinary College. I spend half my time actually practicing in the veterinary teaching hospital, so I haven't left practice. That was a really hard thing to get my head around, was to leave the practice of medicine. So I'm blessed to be able to work in the teaching hospital with fourth-year students by my side. Actually, it's the opposite. I am by their side, and they take the lead, and I do what they say most of the time. And to watch that transformation of young professionals dealing with clients and in their minds working through a diagnostic process using critical thinking skills. You know, kind of nudging them, coaching them a little bit along the way, but it is a great gift and privilege to be able to do that. And then, on the total other end of the spectrum, I coordinate the first year student orientation. So I literally get them off the bus. And they come off that bus and they have stars in their eyes and they are scared to absolute death. And they're pretty sure that that letter of admission was a mistake. And so I get to start there. And we literally take them to camp at Post Falls. And they literally get off the bus. And they have sleeping bags and pillows. And they wonder what in the world we're doing. And I have 2.5 days with them to teach them leadership before they embark on their very first anatomy class. I teach them about servant leadership, which is our theme. I teach them emotional intelligence. We teach them empathy, self-awareness, all of that. We introduce them to communication skills. We put them into small discussion groups, so we teach them team building. And we do that in 2.5 days, and they're tired when they get back on the bus. And so I have the privilege of doing that. And then I also teach a leadership practicum for first and second and third year students where we just do kind of a survey of power, conflict, gender, generational issues. We talk about negotiation. We talk about leadership styles. We use MBTI typing, so they all have an MBTI type. So we get into self-discovery, and I get to teach that to veterinary students. So it's pretty awesome. So I'm happy, I'm challenged. I have way more questions than answers, and I'm pretty well convinced that's always going to be the way it is. But I love that. And this wouldn't be happening for me if it wasn't for this program. Because to teach at Washington State University was never a dream I had. I thought that was so way beyond my reach. I never would have dreamt that I would be doing this. And even my second year of Orgel, I had not made a connection with the school. I wasn't going to go there. And at some point, and I do believe it was a spiritual moment for me, is I decided, as controlling and organizing, and my spices in my cupboard are alphabetized. My daughters think I need therapy. At some point, midway through the Orgel program, I dropped the reins. I intentionally let go. I said, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm not going to control my life to a point where everything is in rows and columns. And I did it intentionally. And that is when Washington State University came into my life. And it was not my doing. And so, I don't know. I think perhaps that is a bit of imagination, which for me was very difficult. But you have those moments, and probably all of you have had those moments, turning points of one form or another, that just moved you off course. And how exhilarating that is. I think the most exhilarating, happy times in my life have been times when something was really hard or made me really mad. And then you reap the benefits. Seems a little counterintuitive, but I think it really does happen that way. So anyway, I'm excited for all of you. I wish you the absolute best. Where's Charlie? Where'd he go? There. Charlie Parsons he's just getting ready to finish, right? He's going to be done in May. And Charlie and I met at the Servant Leadership Connection here in Spokane conference. I can't remember when that was. It was
about a year ago.
About a year ago or so. And we just met after it was over. We were just getting up our stuff and heading out to the parking lot, and we started chatting and just had a delightful conversation, and had another chance to visit over the phone during your leadership project for Dr. Horsman, I believe. And so had a wonderful talk, and I think I learned as much from you as you did from me in that conversation, and it's just kind of amazing how those kinds of things just happen. You will stay connected in ways you don't even understand now, and it's that kind of support system, that feeling that you're not in this alone, that you are in this together. And I suspect you all are from very diverse backgrounds. Where's Cindy? I was talking to Cindy earlier. There she is. You're a store manager for Old Navy, right? Yep. And I remember in our servant leadership class we had military. We had a couple students in the military in ROTC, and we had a construction foreman in our group. And it was so fascinating to me. I love to listen to construction stories. Oh my gosh, it was like, do you really do that? That is so cool. And it was like, this whole world opens up, and you realize how different you are, but how much you have in common. It's all the same. It's the same. We have the same struggles. We have the same challenges. It's all the same. So anyway, God bless you all, and safe travels, and great things to come. Thank you for letting me do this.